before history was rewritten, before the forests were silenced, there were ways of living that did not demand more, only deeper presence. Some say humanity is evolving, but what if we are not moving forward? What if we are remembering? In the highlands and in the depths of the jungle, there were civilizations that chose their lands carefully, not for power over others, but for alignment with something unseen. They did not settle randomly. They listened to the energy of the earth itself. Mountains were not obstacles. They were centers of presence. Forests were not resources. They were living systems, breathing alongside human life. To exist was not to extract, but to participate. But something changed. Slowly, almost invisibly, humans began to forget where their sense of life came from, and in that forgetting, a new behavior emerged. Instead of feeling connected, they began to seek. Instead of receiving, they began to take. Land became property, nature became material, and presence became rare. Civilizations grew, but something else diminished. The deeper the expansion, the weaker the connection. Forests fell, not out of necessity, but out of disconnection. This was not just a physical shift. It was a rupture, a silent break in the way humans related to life itself, a moment that could be named Paradeígmatos, rhêxis, the breaking of the pattern. Since then, humanity has been expanding outward. More cities, more noise, more need, more fulfillment. And yet, something is changing again. Not everywhere, not all at once, but in fragments, in quiet realizations, in subtle shifts of awareness. Some are choosing differently. Less noise, less excess, more presence, more attention, not as a trend, but as a necessity. There are those who believe the future will not be built on expansion, but on restraint, not on having more, but on needing less. Some texts suggest that humanity may one day reduce its own weight on the world, not by force, but by understanding, choosing space so life can grow again. Forests, left untouched, would not remain empty. They would mature, deepen, amplify something invisible, something ancient humans once knew how to feel. And in those places, humans would not dominate. They would dwell, not as owners, but as participants in a living field. This way of living may sound like a distant future, but traces of it have existed before, in civilizations that understood without needing to explain. So maybe this new culture is not new at all. Maybe it is something that survived quietly beneath the noise of history, and now it begins to emerge again, not as a system, not as a movement, but as a shift in how one human meets another, and how both meet the world. The change does not begin in governments or in institutions. It begins in a single interaction, in the absence of control, in the presence of awareness, because the same principle applies everywhere. The one who no longer takes energy from others will also stop taking from the world, and perhaps what we call evolution is not the creation of something new, but the return to something we were never meant to forget. There are those who say the Maya disappeared, that their cities were abandoned and their knowledge lost. But some traditions whisper something different, that a civilization does not end when it is no longer seen. They believed the world was not limited to what the eyes could hold, that existence moved in layers, subtle, invisible, yet deeply real. The Mayas were not a primitive people. They observed the world with a precision that still challenges modern assumptions, not to dominate it, but to read its patterns. They looked to the sky and followed the movement of celestial bodies. The sun, the moon, and especially Venus, tracking its cycles with a remarkable accuracy, as if its rhythm carried meaning. They recorded eclipses, aligned their temples with solstices, and observed equinoxes, where light and shadow revealed a deeper order. The sky was not distant, it was a map. Time, for them, was not linear, it unfolded in cycles. Through the Tzolk'in, a sacred calendar of 260 days, they followed ritual time, interwoven with human life. Alongside it, the Hab, a solar calendar, and the long count, a system that extended time far beyond a single life, measuring not just days but eras. Their mathematics reflected the same depth, a vigesimal system based on 20, structured with clarity and abstraction, and within it, a concept rare for its time. 0, not as absence, but as a position, a placeholder, a recognition that nothingness could also hold structure. On the earth, they adapted with intelligence, managing water through reservoirs and irrigation systems, sustaining life without severing their connection to the land. Nothing existed in isolation. Astronomy, mathematics, agriculture were not separate domains. They were expressions of a single perception. That life moved in patterns, a way of seeing where knowledge was not used to control the world, but to align with it. To them, reality was not fixed. It could deepen, refine, shift. So, what if their disappearance was not a failure of structure, but a transformation of perception? What if a civilization can reach a point where it no longer needs to express itself in dense form, not vanished, but no longer anchored to what we call matter, not gone, but existing in a way that does not demand to be seen? So what if their departure was a transition, not a collapse, but a refinement of perception itself? What if, instead of losing their place in this world, they simply no longer belong to it in the same way? Not gone, but no longer anchored to the density we still call reality. There is a point in every civilization where history becomes uncertain. Records fade, cities fall silent, and what once felt permanent begins to dissolve. With the Maya, this moment was called collapse. But what if collapse is only the word we use when we no longer understand what we are looking at? We assume that when a people disappears, it is because they failed, because they could not sustain themselves, because something broke. But this assumption reveals more about us than about them, because we measure existence only by what remains visible. The Maya did not organize their world around permanence. They observed cycles, subtle movements, patterns that repeated beyond the physical. There are places in the world where the forest feels different, where silence is not empty, but full, where something ancient seems to observe without revealing itself. Perhaps these are not just landscapes, but thresholds, remnants of a way of being that did not end, only withdrew from the surface of history. And if this is even partially true, then the idea of progress changes completely, because evolution would not mean to build endlessly, but to refine until form is no longer necessary. This is where the emerging culture quietly points, not toward expansion, but toward alignment, not toward visibility up, but toward coherence. Maybe the Maya did not disappear. Maybe they simply moved beyond the limits of a perception we are only beginning to question. And maybe what we call the future is not ahead of us, but hidden in what we have yet to learn how to see. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content which connects the known with paradigm shifts, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so that more people can access it.